What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 63 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and joined today with Noxious and Ekop.
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody's like going crazy in the chat because Ekop's on the show. It's been a long time since we've had you on, man. How you been doing?
Oh, me?
Yeah,
I'm
you.
doing great. Thanks you very much for asking. Yeah, I've been doing fine. Could be better, could be worse. But overall, above average.
Yeah, are you still living
Above
off of
average.
those ATLC wins? Are you still like feeding off
Oh
of the
yeah,
ATLC?
dude, I'm so low maintenance. I could just survive on spaghetti every day. It's
I love
it
you.
doesn't cost me a thing.
Oh
I
my
love you,
God.
dude. This is perfect.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
man.
I'm probably set for life with those ATLC winnings.
Oh, this is great.
Oh, man.
I like to hear that though. I like to hear that because some people sometimes go a bit crazy with their winnings. They end up going out and popping it on champagne. They not remotely
Who? Okay,
even
come
care
on.
about.
Who in
so.
gaming really does that? All right, we're not talking about freaking
CS:GO
pro athletes
players,
and shit.
League players, dude. Come on, let's be real.
Seriously?
Anybody but Hearthstone players actually does excess.
Like seriously, people go and blow it
Well,
on like.
there's some Hearthstone players that do access stuff.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I just want to say gambling, debt.
Okay,
StarCraft
gambling.
too.
Oh, okay.
Are we good?
Oh man. Okay. All right. Touche. That's fair. That's fair. No, Noxious, how you doing, man? How's the little one?
Yeah, pretty good, man. He's a little bit difficult these days, and fussy, but that's what a baby does. So I'm
Yeah.
not too worried.
Yeah, you're gonna be sleep deprived for a few more months, so
Yep.
get used to it.
Noxious can witness that baby rage firsthand now.
Baby rage.
Absolutely. I've been thinking of
True.
making like baby rage streams, like having a baby cam, like right next to mine.
Not bad.
Just
not
for the
bad.
fun of it.
At least-
But I'm like, there's only so far you can monetize something on Twitch without looking like a complete scumbag. So I was like, if I monetize my kid, I think that's the end of my integrity career. Like it's over.
Oh,
That's
man.
it.
You should create an emote with your baby's face instead.
That's true. That's true.
You could create a new baby rage emote. That'd be awesome. All right, dads. Today we've got some cool topics of our week in Hearthstone. Just what we've been doing. Probably gonna be talking some Tavern Brawl in there, just because the new one is pretty funny. Events. Obviously, there's like 3 events this past week, all very different. So we'll talk about that and just some of the meta going on there. Elky ghosting was a topic. A little bit of drama during the week. Harassment. Hafu was featured in a video by, it was a Fusion? I think it was Fusion, right? That did a video on her. That was pretty interesting. Talked about harassment, so I figured we would talk about it with, just Ekop, our guest, too. And then viewer Q&A. You guys can post your questions to, or tweet your questions to ValueTownGG, and we'll try to get to as many as we can at the end of the show. All right, let's start off with our week in Hearthstone. So what have you guys been doing this week in Hearthstone? Anything cool? Any decks you've been playing that have been interesting?
Well, on ladder, I've been trying out some funky, how Grinder Mage was very good against something like Warrior, for a while. I've been trying out kind of a weird tweak on it, where you can also polarize your deck and beat the aggro stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it runs stuff like Jeweled Scarabs and everything. The problem is the game is all about mid range, so it just sucks.
Yeah.
If I run into anything that runs anything remotely mid-rangey, even Tempo Mage, it's just a complete disaster. So it was fun of an experiment, but didn't succeed.
Yeah. Ekop, how about you, man?
Oh, I've just been really busy playing in a lot of tournaments those past weeks, and in the weeks to come as well. So there's a lot of tournaments coming up. After all, Ekop's and everything. So yeah, gotta keep up with the tournament schedule. Yeah, some of those tournaments we will actually talk about today.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to it. For me, I've just been goofing off again. I mean, I've actually been playing a little bit of Paladin, which I said I would never do, but it's not Secret Paladin, so just
If
playing.
it's Murloc, it's not any better.
It's not Murloc either.
Oh,
It's not Murloc
okay.
either.
You got me.
It's
That's
just
good.
more tokenish and just the whole Inspire thing, basically.
Oh, that's
it's good.
cool.
It's fun. It's definitely fun. It actually does decently get secrets, surprisingly. So it's been just discovering some things with it has been a lot of fun. All right, Tavern Brawl, guys. So Noxious, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about last week's Tavern Brawl, which was basically your hero was Taunt, and you thought it was alluding to some, maybe some new mechanic or some type of card. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So, Ekop, did you play it at all? In the last Tavern Brawl?
I usually play Tavern Brawl a reasonable amount, but that was actually one of those few Tavern Brawls that I haven't touched at all. Although
That's
I
unfortunate.
I played like 2 games, but I didn't even manage
Okay.
to win one
You're-
game, so that was kind of unfortunate.
No pack for you. But
No
like
pack for me.
basically, for those of you who might not know what it is or who even do, like basically what happened is your hero had taunt. And what that meant is he was on parity with any other taunt minion, so that if you played a taunt minion, they could decide to attack either the taunt
Yeah.
minion or you. The problem
Yeah.
with that brawl obviously is that it incentivizes a lot of face damage, but the idea is you want to be using, cards that have cool effects. Like let's say Nat Pagel, that's a really weak example, and you're protecting him with your health pool. So your
Yeah.
your hero
Yeah.
is defending Nat Pagel, and you're supposed to get that cool card draw. And the idea is nice. I like the concept. However, in a game where silence exists, it's irrelevant. Like it's completely useless. And if anything, it makes dying faster against decks like Aggro Shaman, even mid-range decks that just punish you.
Yeah,
So
cards that have taunt, for example, also become obsolete. Blizzard clearly
yeah,
took
Mhm.
inspiration from that famous Smorg song. If the face plays taunt, we still go face.
exactly.
Right?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I dabbled a little bit in it. Some people told, I don't know who it was who said it, but someone came up with like animated armor that should be
Yeah.
really good in that
Yeah,
format,
it
I
was.
suppose.
It was. Yeah.
Like animated armor and we spell stopper just to protect the animated armor. That's supposed to be pretty good. But I
I
don't know. I
tried.
have played.
It barely worked. Like when it
Well, that's
worked,
because-
it was all right. The problem is if they just killed the Wii Spellstopper and wrecked your animated armor, and you didn't get the duplicate or Echo Medivh, you're dead. Like it was fun, but unfortunately, the only thing I drew from this brawl basically is I think Blizzard is experimenting with the idea of giving, say, warriors a protection feeling to them, like a weapon that's only active on your opponent's turn, and it's like a shield. And basically, what it does is it gives your hero taunt, so that you can actually protect minions that you care about. I don't know if that's the case, but it definitely would make sense from a mechanics perspective to give protection classes maybe a bit more of a defensive ability.
Wait, so you think it's a weapon? Okay, so it's just an added
I'd imagine
text to a
so, yeah.
weapon. Okay.
Yeah, maybe there's something we'll see in the future. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, new expansion coming up, so they must. It's like that Discover stuff came about just before a League of Explorers.
That's right.
I remember
that's
that
true.
brawl.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good. that's a good observation there. So if it does, then we can point to this episode and Noxious the Soothsayer. So the new one, the new Tavern Brawl is even funnier, which is every minion has charge, which is probably all of our nightmares, our
More
nightmare
Smorg.
scenarios in Hearthstone. So Magma Ragers. I mean, what are we talking about here, guys?
Leper Gnome.
Leper Gnome. Okay, Leper Gnome.
I mean, it's so many cards just make you want to gouge your eyes out with that feature. However, I feel like Death Rattle minions just get better, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
for
don't
sure.
forget,
Oh my
Warzone
gosh.
Commander finally is playable again. So
my
that's
God.
something Blizzard actually probably wanted to do. Like, hey guys, look at us. We finally made a mode that makes Warzone Commander viable.
Yeah,
That
you
was
can
a
even make Raid Leader playable too. It's like another Warsong commander, and then you just like have this crazy deck with OP cards.
Raid Leader. Wow. Raid Leader meta. Raid Leader and Warsong Commander meta. Wow. That's gonna be amazing. I guess.
I can't wait for like that Iron Beach
Oh,
Owl
man.
Bestial Wrath. Like it's just the weakest stuff.
Yeah. Anyways, good. You guys that are Tavern Brawl fans, go give it a try. It always starts when Value Town's on the air, or at least
Yeah.
maybe a few, like 30 minutes or an hour before the Value Town starts. So there's always something, or at least the Tavern Brawl is always a topic that we cover, at least most of the weeks.
Yeah.
But very, very cool. I wish they'd still do something with Tavern Brawl. It's like with this all these changes coming out, I wish they would just add, I don't know, a leaderboard or something to Tavern Brawl and Arena. Since, yeah, again, this seems to be an iteration for them to make whatever changes they want. You think they'll do that, like in the near future
Well,
at
I'd
all?
love them to. Like I've
Jeez.
talked about this before, because like at some point I remember the first brawl they ever made, Ragnaros versus Nefarian.
Yeah.
I got to like 150 wins or something. Like I don't even remember what it was, but like across accounts it was just a ridiculous amount. And I was like, that's great, but wait, no one can ever know. So it was like I'll never remember this beyond memories. So it was a bit unfortunate that it didn't exist. But it's like Arena, right? There's very little tracking of
Yeah,
your
unfortunately.
achievements.
Unfortunately, if there was, probably more people would play it and it would be more respected as a format.
Yeah.
I personally think Arena and as well Tavern Brawl as well, honestly, has the potential to become a competitive format. And it just needs a little bit more of a push from Blizzard's side to push towards a competitive direction. Just make a ladder for it. Like really, like, people wouldn't really mind if it was ladder.
I mean, it doesn't take much. I mean, we don't have to go like full out ladder for any of those. All we need is just a little indication as to like what people who are really good at that format are doing. You know, just to, I don't know, just have some kind of measuring stick or something to even play the format more, like Tavern Brawl, for instance. I mean, I know it's like supposedly the cat, or just people think of it just as the casual mode. But you know, there's some people really like it. Yeah, there's some. I mean, what's wrong with like seeing if somebody can get 100 wins or something, or like having that publicized? That would be kind of neat, right? There's nothing. I don't think it's anything negative about it.
I like it, but it's just it depends on the brawl, and of course, I mean, if it became competitive, of course, you'd never see the wonky decks come out of this. For the most part, unless there's like an MMR system, same thing as everything else. Yeah. But I feel like it would all boil down to Hearthstone net decks. For your
how quick?
needs.
Oh my god, how quick would that be? Oh my gosh.
It would take like exactly.
No, I mean it would take a long time though, and honestly, to find out the perfect deck,
the optimal deck,
perfect decks, because usually there's to every meta there's like one really good deck, and then like a couple of tier 2 decks. Some of them are countering that tier 1 deck. So I think in general, any format, any kind of innovation, be it in our regular tournament formats or in like being a completely new format like Tavern Brawl or Arena, any kind of innovation just provides the skill cap necessary for the best player to come out on top, in my opinion.
Given a really large sample, it's just like Tavern Brawl is so short, I guess.
Well, it's good
if they kept bringing it back, it's fun because then the metagame had like you go back to the old meta of the same Tavern Brawl that they played, let's say 2 months ago. They gave you a brawl and then they bring it back. Now you're like, wait, what was the deck that was played back then that was so good? Now I have to beat that or improve upon it. So that'd be pretty nice.
No, I mean one of the things about Tavern Brawl, the way it is, I actually like it that it's short because a lot of people are always talking about changing, having the meta change, right? And that's how going through this deck taking phase and things like that. Well, Tavern Brawl is like deck taking every single week, so it'd be it's kind of cool if we could, I don't know, just highlight some of the people that are actually good at it. Whether it's just like folks that we do know in the the pro, just the competitive scene that we right now on the ladder, or if it's somebody new, who knows, or just happens to be good at this type of thing.
The problem with that is though that you need people that take this seriously, and there's no reason to take Tavern Brawl seriously at the moment. So
full serious, dude.
When Tavern Brawl came out, there's been like tournaments for Tavern Brawl as well, but that didn't really catch on. There was like no big supporter of it, so unless there's like a big support, be it from Blizzard's side or any other organizer, then we.
I mean, what was it? I actually forget what it was like, what the format like. If you did a tournament for Tavern Brawl, what does it actually look like? Because you can't. Can you play each other with your own Tavern Brawl decks?
Of course, yeah.
I forget,
you can challenge.
Actually,
you can challenge friends.
Okay, with your Tavern Brawl deck.
I've
never done that. So.
It's great.
Yeah, but only in Tavern Brawl, of course. Once the Tavern Brawl is gone, then.
Yeah. Okay, the fact that you can do that is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All it really takes is just a big tournament, like a big organization doing a tournament. I don't think it was a huge organization that did it. Yeah, seriously. If Archon did it, I don't know, Tempest Storm did it, or whoever did it, then it would become something. Like that's all it takes, guys. It just takes the community making it into something at times.
That's true, though. It is true.
I mean, like Arena. So we're going to bring up Arena, right? The whole 110 thing is like the only thing going on in Arena, and I actually think it's a cool thing. You guys, I don't know, seem to be a little bit like split on whether it's jaded
about it. That's just straight up impossible.
It's not impossible. Come on, somebody will do it.
If it's like basically the same thing as winning the lottery, then it's if you consider that possible, then.
So it's like what Ekop is saying, and that's pretty much why I don't I get excited over it. But the thing is, the players who succeeded this are likely to be the greatest phenomenal Arena players that exist, and they already take every single run they make, or they take seriously, right? Like they just take it seriously. Mm-hmm. Now, the only added challenge here is not the amount of wins you need to get, because that's something you would strive for anyway. You'd still try to get those wins. The challenge is different classes. Like in truth, the challenge is more like not the 9 class challenge. It's like it's got almost nothing to do with I don't know the
Well, I
number
mean,
of
the
wins. It's
challenge
the
can be
goal, but
whatever you. I mean, the
sure,
challenge can be whatever you want it to be. So yeah, there could
yeah,
be a challenge, or the next challenge is who can get the most with 9 wins. But what's interesting with this is that it's actually like a stake in the ground instead of just
yeah, that's
a
true.
leaderboard, right? There's actually a stake in the ground and who can accomplish a feat, and I think it's great because what do we have in arena? Like we're just talking about Tavern Brawl, right? There's like nothing for the arena players to play for except for just the
Art
normal
packs.
just inner card packs. Yeah, right. Just being an infinite arena player or just accruing
Yeah.
gold or dust or card packs. But right now there's nothing there for it. So the 110 thing is the storyline for arena, and I'm glad there is one. Because people are interested in it. Like whenever Hafu gets close or Ratsma gets close, everybody starts talking about it and watches it, and that's cool. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like the community created this. Like
Sure. I mean, on
Blizzard
that
didn't do
front, yeah, you're
this,
right.
right?
You're
And
correct. Like,
it's
I think like on that front, I think it's nice. I like that there's excitement building up around the arena.
yeah.
I just think overall, it's like somebody must have done it already. We just don't know him or her because they're
Well,
not
in
streaming.
the history of arena, of course, I'm sure somebody's. Well, I don't
Right.
know. Maybe
No,
I don't know.
it has surely happened.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
it's a statistical anomaly. It's statistical disaster, even you could say. But it might have happened with the amount of games that have been played, the amount of
statistical
people who take it
disaster.
seriously. It
Sure,
is.
but
It really is, dude.
you also keep in mind, like you have to also pick different classes, and
Yeah.
that means you
Yeah.
eventually will have to play warrior, and warrior just blows.
It's
So
good now, though. It's all right now. It's pretty good.
it's okay. But
Yeah, it's not
see,
terrible.
um, the problem with the challenge is that like it's it could be better. Let's just say that it could be better.
Yeah, of
I don't
course.
understand why you would have to stop after you cannot reach 110 anymore. Well, just play the complete 10 runs and see what score it is. Like that's the first thing, in my opinion. Like, what's the point of stopping?
See, I kind of like that. I like the idea that you just play. You do 10 runs. You see how much you
You
get.
just do 10 runs and see how much you get. Exactly. That's way better because sometimes you could get, let's say, sure, you could get like a score of 80, but you can you have to you would technically have to stop after your second run because you went like 2 and 3 in both rounds or
You ended up
whatever.
having really crappy,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
crappy
so you couldn't
beginning, and you'll never know
restart.
how close you got
You couldn't
without
restart,
reaching it.
basically. Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Also, what I also don't like is basically that it's the way how you have to do those class variations, right? It's basically also a lottery because you are allowed to repick the same class if you have like no other options of picking anything else, right?
Yeah,
I'd force you
yeah.
to retire until you get the one you
Exactly. Why not
haven't.
just retire instead? So
Now, okay,
I
that
don't-
would be
so
impossible.
That
you
would be a
forced-
challenge for real,
would
because
be
then you don't
impossible.
count on that like quadruple
Okay, that would
paladin
be
run
impossible.
that you're
Exactly.
peak.
Exactly. Like you cannot count on quadruple paladin or triple
I'm not
mage.
remotely getting there anyway. Like it doesn't affect me one bit. I'm just saying the rules should actually force you to play all the classes. Like if that's the spirit of the challenge, they should do that.
Well, I think that would be the next one. I mean, that'd probably be the
Yeah.
next iteration of this thing. But the first one, it's pretty hard, and
Let's just say I mean, Amas didn't put much thought into it. Probably he just yeah came
It's
up
for fun, right?
It came
Yeah.
it just came up for fun off the top of his head, and he was like, yeah, sure, why not make this a challenge? And he challenged a bunch of people. I took the challenge as well. My first try, I got like 69 points.
oh,
And
did you? Oh, did you?
I got 420, bro.
I think it was like 69.
Okay.
But yeah, it's then even, like on my first try already, I realized how bad this challenge is and how impossible it actually is. So I never even bothered to like do it again.
Yeah, so that's what it's funny about it. So it was basically a bet between Amaz and just a
Yeah.
bunch of other streamers and notable people. But how funny would it be if some random person just does it out of nowhere?
Somebody posted like evidence of it. I think like
No,
they
there's
were,
a
like,
list of the leaderboard, right? It's like
no evidence. Like the thing is, the challenge is you have to. Like you have to be streaming it or recording it. Not even recording, because recording you cherry pick the runs you want. You have to be streaming it for it to count. And it's like, sure. And somebody came up, I think, on Reddit at some point and said, okay, I did it, and here's, he had like a bunch of of evidence of it, but it wasn't streamed and it could have been manufactured. So it's like it's really tough to allow somebody who's not streaming or even has a rig to do it
Yeah.
to compete in that. So I don't know. I don't know if it even matters, but it's just
It's,
why are we even
it's
talking
limited
about
to
this?
streamers.
Like, how did we get there? Curse.
Well,
Oh
we-
yes, different formats. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were gonna talk about this, and then you guys started
Sure.
talking about it right before the show, so it's like, okay, let's just bring it up anyways.
Yeah. Anyway,
But yeah, anyways, it'll be interesting to see when it happens at least. Okay, well, it's moving on to events. There were quite a few events this past week, and let me move this pointer over. And why don't we start off with the North American prelims? For the Hearthstone Championships. So Europe was last week, I believe, right? And this past week was North America. And anything notable for you guys? Did you guys watch it? Like a lot of it? I tried to catch it here and there. I couldn't sit through like all of it because it was basically all weekend long. Anything notable that you guys want to mention? Or
Mitch,
Ekop?
go ahead.
Ekop?
So,
Nothing really noteworthy for Europe. It was obviously the big story that none of the pro players, like the known pro players, made it to the top 8. In America, some of them made it. Some of them made it. Some of them didn't, of course. So it's like a mixed field there. And I don't know about the Asian one that happened too this weekend. I haven't been watching that though. So.
Any
all I know
interesting
is about
decks
the
you see?
results of NA and
yeah, the
EU.
freeze mage from Fibonacci was cool
Yeah.
for me. I loved the Cold Lateral Malagos freeze mage, which isn't exactly like what you see all the time. I think that like the casters seemed pretty dumbfounded by it when they saw it.
I mean,
It's not the most common thing to even see cold lights in that deck, but it's not completely unheard of. So
to be fair, you cannot really say if it's just because it's different that it's actually better or worse because nobody else played it before. It's the games that have been played with the deck is just such a small sample size.
Yeah.
Same thing with Egg Paladin, right? That has been going on in the EU and NA. I personally think it's just a gimmick and not really worth looking at. Just a regular Secret Paladin is way better. But if you just change a couple of cards in a deck and keep the overall same strategy, it's not much is going to change regarding the consistency of the deck. So if you just put in Malagos and Cold Light into your freeze mage and keep the rest as it is, the same base, and same goes for Secret Paladin basically, then not much is going to change when it comes to the results of the deck. So it just looks cool, but I'm not sure if it's actually getting better just because of those additions of different cards.
It just takes more matches to really see if it is. But it's something that at least we can talk about. I mean, do we want to talk about the same decks we've literally seen for months now? Because those decks were obviously there and dominating too. So right now, I guess in the tournaments, Ekop, what do you think is the dominant deck or the deck that everybody's playing?
Oh, everyone's just playing Druid and Paladin in Conquest. So just basically what's strong on ladder. So Druid, Paladin, got your Patron Warrior as well. So those are the top 3.
Patron, man.
And Warlock, of
never
course.
goes
You
away.
got Warlock variations.
I mean,
and,
I kind of like that though. Like, I feel like the only issue we're running
like
into
that?
as a player base, the only issue we're running into is that because of the content pacing, and we've talked about this before on the show, is like it should be just one more release per year of content by Blizzard, and then we'd get somewhere. Because right now, like the metagame gets figured out super quick, and you know how druids are like these evergreen. It's the evergreen class, right? Like it's their, like it's been there since forever with the exact same toolkit. Like it might change up the way it kind of does it a bit here and there, but overall it's like, okay, I have a deck. It's got Force of Nature, Savage Roar. What else do I shove in it? And then you just pick what tempo as well. Or in the case of Aggro Druid, what's biggest, depending on the meta. So I don't hate that Druid is always there, but it really does make it dull when the metagame settles down, because he's always there to cornerstone the entire metagame. Like at some point he's going to be re-included because the metagame is too polarized, and he starts punishing everyone else, and then the metagame just shifts towards mid-range. And now you've got Secret Pally. In other worlds, it's like Secret Pally, Tempo Mage, Mid-Range Druid, Patron Warrior nowadays being some kind of a tempo deck. So it's all like mid-range tempo. It's just getting
It's been like that for a long time
Obnoxious.
now. It's
Whenever it settles, it's always that. Like no matter what tempo deck or
well,
mid-range deck you talk about, like Handlock has always been, um, like Handlock's a tempo deck, right? It just drops big dudes starting on turn 4, and then it never leaves you alone. So I don't know, rambling on, but
like you liking that is a very
no,
very surprising.
I like the
I
fact
think
that
that's
I like the fact that we have like an understanding of that, like that everything is tempo slash mid range. Like, and I don't like it as a gameplay thing. I just like that we understand how the metagame like settles every time. People are now finally
Yeah.
realizing that like Hearthstone's gameplay is essentially the same. As soon as it settles down, the cool cards can't be played because they suck. Like they just
yeah. The
fancy
trend
stuff
is
doesn't
the same.
work.
Yeah, I guess what
That's
you mean.
just yeah.
Exactly. See, this is the main problem that I have with that I had personally with the prelims, is that sure, one of the main reasons, in my opinion, as well, why in Europe, for example, so many unknown, quote unquote, unknown players made it through, and none of the pros, none of the known pros. It's because once the metagame settles, there's always like this. A new set gets introduced, or there's like some sort of other innovation when it comes to to a format. Something new gets introduced, then immediately the pros or the guys who who dedicate a lot of time to the game, that spend a lot of time playing, they innovate the meta. They create the decks to beat, and then once the meta settles, like all the plebs come out of the woodwork and start copying the decks. They go to templestorm.com and just. I mean, that's what
plugging
a lot of-
Templestorm. Yes.
a lot of people actually just even admitted that in the prelims that oh yeah, we didn't have time to test, so just copy paste decks from templestorm.com and you're good to go. Top 8 prelims, A.
Well, so
Right?
that's
And it's basically my main gripe. It's that there's not enough not enough frequent innovations in competitive Hearthstone. It's just so the game gets to the meta gets to the point where just everyone can perform the same level no matter how much time they dedicate to the game.
Yeah.
Like if they're a good player, if they're a legend player, and basically anyone who got top 100 legend at one point was able to qualify for this prelim. So
so. I guess
yeah,
it
can be just it can be like the so basically sure. That's Blizzard's concept, right? Anyone can make it to the prelims if
right.
they have a good run on ladder or whatever. But in my opinion, the true skill of a player is determined by how well they can adapt.
Deck build on the fly.
Yeah,
right.
that's how the skill shines through in tournament formats, at least. Once the meta settles, it's all about the win rate, but a win rate, it's only like 2 or 3% difference most of the time that distinguishes a good player from a very good player, and that kind of win rate difference doesn't really shine through in tournaments. It's just because of the small sample size of games played and all that stuff. So if you want to determine skill of players in tournaments, you have to have those new formats. You have to have innovation. That's the kind of field. That the true pros shine in.
I guess so. To follow up on what you just said there. Do you think Blizzard wants it to be like that? Do you think Blizzard wants basically ladder warriors to be, just have equal opportunity, just have this parity that you're talking about for between all the players, whether you're notable players versus whether you're just an unknown and trying to make a name for yourself?
No, I mean the model that Blizzard has is fine. I just think that frequent innovations would be more healthy for just the whole game in itself, right? Because the meta, everyone's complaining that the meta gets too stale too fast, and it's natural if you have a game that's being played by 40 million people and a lot of people. But even if it's just a small percentage, even if it's like only 1%, then it's still how much is it? Like 400,000 players that take the game seriously. So and obviously then the game, then the meta will, no matter how diverse it is at the start, it will get very stale very fast because the good decks are going to be discovered very fast. So the more frequent the innovations, the better it's going to be. Because if you have um, innovations every 6 months, like for example nerfs of cards or introduction of new sets, then it's just going to be too slow, and everyone's going to start complaining after 3 months already.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the big issue we have right now. I think is, and that really is just it. Content release is too slow. That's just like we consume way too much content way
Right.
too quickly.
And they're trying to obviously improve that. I mean, or at least
Sure.
have big shakeups, just in the beginning of the years, so that we can have a place where there's at least a large amount of time where the meta is shifting and changing.
But as far as the skill goes, though, for the NA prelims,
Yeah.
I'm happy that Fibonacci is there. You know,
Yeah,
just want
that's
to put it
definitely
out there. Fibonacci is kind of the player that, like the unsung hero that everybody knows about. It's like this legend. You know, the guy you know is doing really good and he's beating all the pros, but who the hell is he? And now we actually got to see him a little bit more. Plus, the decks he brought were, you know, kind of out of the beaten path a bit. You know, he took some really cool archetypes, and aside from the Demon Handlock that didn't do too well, the rest did pretty good.
Well, I mean, he's famous for his warrior play, right? And
Yeah,
he
of
brought
course.
his Deathwing warrior, which was really cool, with maybe one or two different cards, you know,
Sure.
that he changed for the tournament.
It's
that
fun.
was-
I'm happy he's
yeah.
there.
I think it was a very deserved top 8 for Fibonacci. He has accomplished so much on ladder these
Yeah, it's
past
like
days, and
number one.
like
all the time.
ladder as well is like one of those metrics where you can determine a good player, because if a player consistently finishes top 10 in ladder, he's got to have a really good win percentage for that. And Fibonacci is exactly that kind of player, so he definitely a very deserving performance, very deserving finish for him, in my opinion.
Okay, well, why don't we move on to the next event? The Curse Trials. So the Curse
Yeah.
Trials was obviously Archon and Curse's attempt to show us what an event would look like with some of the standard changes that are coming. Obviously, they don't have the basic and classic cards that are going to be changing. Blizzard has said that they'll probably change, but at least we get a sense with no, just Nex Ramus and no GBG. One of the big things that came out of it is just Druid social. Like almost everybody played Druid. I think maybe except for Kibler. I think he might have been the only person that didn't play Druid.
I think he still brought it.
Did he bring it? But he just didn't
I
play it much.
I don't know.
The matches I saw of his, he didn't. He didn't end up playing it. So
Okay, must have missed it then. Never mind me.
yeah. But what'd you guys think of the event overall?
Go ahead, Ekop.
Oh yeah.
What was yours?
Curse Trials. Of course, the idea of having being the first big standard tournament is pretty good. Of course, Archon want to jump right on that idea. Initially, it was supposed to be a different format. It was supposed to
Right,
be
right.
no classic and basic cards and just the rest, which would have been way more interesting in my opinion, because everyone already knew
Sorry.
beforehand. Everyone already knew beforehand what the meta game was going to look like in that tournament. A lot of Druid, and that's what we got. A lot of Druid.
No shit, you don't say.
God.
Oh
It's
god,
true.
Archon wanted to get on that because the thing is, initially the format I thought was like it was interesting what they initially had planned, and then they changed like halfway through.
Yeah, I'm
the
really
other
sad about
format.
that actually.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was
it would.
funny.
You're right. I think it would have been
Uh,
like much more of a shakeup if they would have just gotten, done their original idea.
Yeah,
But-
we finally could have seen some cool GVG or TGT cards that have never been played, right? But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but rip GVG at least for standard in the next
Yeah.
month or so. So I can understand why they did it, but
There were big flaws though. I think in both formats because I theory crafted a lot of the initial format Curse Trials had, and it was gonna be kind of boring. It was really just about play the big dudes because nobody has BGH, and play Paladin because you have Minibot and Muster. So
yeah,
it was like a little dull to be honest. However,
It
I
would've been
think
fun
what
to
we
watch,
what we saw from this though, like the entire Curse Trials, is Blizzard cannot have standard without changing the basic set. Like you simply can't. And I mean changing, not just modifying slightly, one or two cards that we don't think are viable or should be in the game, just just gutting it, or at least a lot of it.
Yeah. We talked
so
about it last week.
It was nice.
honestly.
It was a nice experiment, I guess.
It has to happen eventually that the classic format, that the classic and basic cards are gone from standard, just to have some sort of diversity in the standard formats, in the standard metas to come in the following years. But in order to do that, they just need to have more expansions, like more cards in those expansions. If not more expansions, then just more cards in those expansions.
Right.
So just to have a bigger card pool to work with.
More packs.
Yeah, more more packs. Yeah, absolutely. No, but overall, I think the Turf Trials went well. I mean, we did see the finals was actually pretty exciting and epic, and we actually saw Warrior at the end, which was really cool. I know Varian Rin was being played, so people were waiting for Varian Rin to actually have an impact, and when we got a chance to see it towards the end. But yeah, overall, it was just like druids and dragon priests and aggro shaman. I think those are probably the three most popular. Actually, I have the win rates here. Let me show you the win rates real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet Druid is doing just fine. Because the thing is, we have to understand the Druids, like, because of, and is this strictly because of Innervate, Force of Nature, Savage Roar? Strictly because of this, they never got a good card. Like, aside from TGT with, like, the Aspirant. They were given, like, Mech Bearcat, Recycle, Volcanic Lumber. Like, I mean, they got a few decent cards of recent memory in TGT. That's where Benbro said, you're gonna love what we give you. But prior to that, it was basically, okay, let's not give them anything, because we don't want to. They don't need anything more.
Yep,
and let them
true.
borrow from the neutral pool with what they've already got. So
I mean, the cards in themselves were not really that bad, but just compared to the sickness that they have in the classic set, and just compared to that, it's it just doesn't compare.
It's tough to match, right? You can't compete.
They were arena ads for the most part, I think. But yeah, there were some of the cards that were added were solid, but just never played. I mean, the whole beast, right? The whole beast druid is still.
I love it, man.
Still
I love
hasn't been a thing
so much, dude.
Malorn. You ever gonna play Malorn, man?
It needs to work one day.
One of these days. Actually, Malorn's gone, isn't it? It's actually gone in GVG, and so never mind. Malorn's just off.
Forever BGH.
Yeah, forever BGH, right? Okay, let's see. The next event, our last event that happened was the G2 class legends. And this one was a single class format. So you can imagine which class was played a lot, which Druid was played quite a bit. Life Coach ended up winning it, and yeah, I mean, anything to really talk about this? Like, what do you think about a single class type of format or event?
Yeah, I actually played in a tournament. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I think the concept of having only one class at your disposal, in my opinion, you could also limit it to just one deck. But yeah, that is a little bit boring to watch.
One deck would be even worse, I think, yeah.
And yeah, even with like two decks at your disposal, often enough it would just come to one deck versus one deck. So yeah, for spectating purposes, it can be a little bit boring, but I think from a player's perspective, it's actually a lot of fun. And
how often did you switch up your deck?
Yeah, it all depends on the class you play against, basically, right? You have to have a game plan going into this. Like against this class, this deck will be more favored, and against that class, the other deck. And sometimes you have to have both. You have to use both, so you have to switch it up during the match as well.
Which class did you play?
I played Warlock, which was also on par with Druid in terms of popularity. I think like 5 people brought Warlock, 5 people brought Druid or so, or 4-4, something like that. Every class was represented in the tournament as well, besides Shaman.
Shaman, I imagine, because mid-range I don't think was very appealing to people.
Yeah, it wasn't very flexible. You could have.
Yeah, like Ostkaka brought Mage, Zetalot brought Priest, Orange had Hunter, and Super JJ had Rogue, I think.
Interesting, of course.
Yeah, some who was Crane was Warrior, yeah. And something else, whatever. Doesn't even.
Yeah.
The poker guy. The poker guy was Paladin.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The poker guy.
Mark Kennedy. Exactly.
Oh, Mark Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's his name.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Alki for some reason.
So yeah, a very diverse meta. Even though you would, sure, the most popular classes were Druid and Warlock, but yeah, it's still a very diverse meta.
What do you think about that format if it was the standard format? For Hearthstone Championship, not standard, but for like Hearthstone Championship, if that's where they went, yeah.
Okay, wait. So you mean like rotation, or
like for a major tournament? Like if you ever had like a major tournament, how would you feel about this format instead of just like more?
I even feel like having a format with where you can only play one deck, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you pick one deck and have a best of 3. You can even just have a best of 3 against another deck. I think that's actually a really fine format. But the tournament format in itself, like it shouldn't be single elimination. It should be Swiss, and then like
Yeah.
cut to top 8, whatever.
Okay,
That's like classic like physical card games do it.
Yep.
And this is the best format for trading card games in general, trading card game tournaments. The time-tested format, right? And I think it would be a good addition to a Hearthstone tournament as well. Just play one deck, play it through a Swiss Gauntlet, and just have a good win rate with that deck. It's kind of like ladder, and yeah, it
You just get more games. Yeah, you get more samples with that
a
deck.
lot of games in.
Yeah,
You get a lot of games in.
Yeah.
If you get all you need to do is have a good win rate like on ladder, and then you get the tournament feel at the end with a cut to top 8, where it's single elimination, and yeah, it's like a complete package, I would say. So a time-tested formula, I think it should exist more of it, and we're gonna see more of it as well in future tournaments. Like I mean, the Swiss component with top 16, the DreamHacks are doing it at the moment. So all the DreamHacks are having this kind of format.
Yeah,
that's good.
it's been tried before, but it never really caught on. Either way, it's like
It's just
I remember
adminning.
that
so
was like
hard.
a really big talk a while back, like the whole tournament format thing. So
Well, it's more
like
of-
they
it's-
settled on this, but it's mostly for logistics purposes. I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's that, and I think it's just maintenance adminning standpoint. It's so hard to admin a Swiss tournament, and it takes longer just to get through it because usually each
It's
player
hours,
plays like
yeah.
7, 8, 9. You know, like there's a lot of matches they have to play just to get through the entire Swiss bracket, or just the brackets, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's definitely interesting, and I've been an advocate. I wrote an article recently this for Splice that talked about just I wish the format or the whole Hearthstone World Championship had to do with like more of a majors approach, so that we could have different formats represent like a major.
I would love that.
Yeah,
dude. That would
I
be
feel
so
like that
good.
would be
like it all kind of merges into that one big title, let's say. But it's
I mean,
like
you can
multiple
still
formats coming up.
have the points going towards BlizzCon,
Sure.
the final tournament, but just have major tournaments where the community can acknowledge them as the big ones, and winning it for a player matters. You know what I mean? It's like and having whatever represent it, bracelets or whatever you want to call it, titles or whatever, but just some way of measuring how great a player is or what legacy a player has, and on top of that,
Yeah.
just maybe how good they are at certain formats, instead of just having
You
one.
force them into the arena and you tell them,
Yeah.
you have to do the 110 challenge.
Well,
Oh,
okay.
no.
Mandated
Not
by
that.
the
Okay.
boss
Not
himself.
that. That literally could
You
last
Blizzard
365
Overlord.
days. That could literally last 365 days.
Oh man.
Oh, they're like starving in there and shit. No.
Yeah, dude, no problem. You just log them up. Like, you log them up with a dog and you let them starve.
Come up with a dog.
You're like, you'll finish
Oh
this.
No, but yeah. Anyways, it's cool that G2 did that event, and it sounds like they're gonna be doing more. At least Lothar made it sound like they're gonna be doing some more. Excited to see that. Okay, well, let's move on to next topic. Elky and ghosting. All right, drama, people. Yeah, drama. No.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had we've had some of recent memory, but like basically this is host T 2.0, at
Yeah,
least from the
pretty
community's
much.
perspective. But here's the difference, and it's a really big one. Okay, so he was accused of ghosting, like life coach when they were playing against each other. They saw the reflection in his glasses of the mulligan that happened like 15 minutes prior, or 10 minutes, whatever it was. And people were like, "Oh man, like he's sniping. He's totally looking at life coach's hand." And Hosty, what happened is, Amaz panically just sent a tweet and said, "God, guys, like
He's off.
he's out.
He's
Yeah,
out.
he's out.
He's
Like,
done."
basically, he's
Yeah,
out."
yeah.
And in this case, it was handled, I guess, a bit slower, where basically Elky had the chance to explain himself and say, "Well, when I play poker, and I play a lot of poker, it's standard to be able to watch the stream unless stated explicitly." And yeah, in a nutshell, he didn't intend to cheat. You could put it that way. But now the question, I guess, that comes up is it on the player not to use the stream as a source of information, or is it on the organizers to make it so it's not possible?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the issue to discuss at this point. But Ekop, let me get your thoughts on it first, and then we'll jump into that.
So yeah, the whole thing is just, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that could be controversial, but first thing is it's basically Hosty 2.0, like a watered down version of it because the drama was like not so through the roof. The Hosty incident, it was like the first of its kind in the Hearthstone scene.
Yeah.
So obviously not all the parties knew how. Pretty much everyone didn't know how to react properly, in my opinion. Archon just kind of eliminated Hosty from their team super fast.
Yeah.
It was like within hours. It was like hours of the
yeah, exactly.
the
It was
drama.
just instantly like that without any chance of him defending himself or whatever. But I don't think he defended himself in any way. Anyway, did he? I don't quite remember.
Hosty was basically, guys, you caught me, I'm out.
Yeah,
it was like he didn't even try to fight. He was basically acknowledging that what he did, he thought was cheating. So he, like, unlike Elky,
Yeah, that's
I think
that's
like
way different.
I was gonna say Ghosty. I think Hosty knew that he was doing something that would not be taken lightly by the community, whereas Elky, I think, legitimately didn't think about it too much.
Yeah. So another thing that kind of bothers me is the whole double standard that Reddit often just shows, the hypocrisy. Like on Hosty, for Hosty, they were just all over his ass when it came to that, and just hating on him in any way possible. And Elky, oh yeah, he didn't know. He's just we can genuinely believe him, and he definitely is a good guy, and we should not hate on him. We should just commend him for his awesome apology. And I mean, sure, of course, just give him the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah.
But sure, that's like it's double standard. You either do it this way or you do it the other way, but can't just go in between. Can't just have both, in my opinion. And I personally believe Elky that he just didn't know. He's a good guy, and he just didn't know better. It's true, but let's say you could of course inform yourself about it, about stuff like that. You could have been following the scene a little bit at least, and just inform yourself about stuff that has happened that has been similar to this, if stuff like that is allowed or not.
Well, okay, so let's
or just use common sense.
Well, okay, so let's talk about kind of what Noxious was getting at. The question is whether ghosting is really cheating at this point, because first off, like, ghosting isn't in the rule. Like, it's not actually in tournament rules a lot of times, right? Like,
it never is.
I think it's just more of an honor code. You know, just the community thinks of it as
fair play, right? It falls under the fair play clause,
right?
Yeah. And so tournaments, you know, at least I think one of the things that permits do that's prudent is to put delays on the streams, and I think that's just standard at this point. So tournaments have kind of taken upon themselves, just in case or whatever, to make sure it at least doesn't have a huge impact on the game, or at least the percentage of times that it could have a huge impact is reduced by a lot. So at this point, just with the events already doing this, is ghosting really even a problem at this point? I mean, should it be accepted like it is in poker? Like, people do it all the time in poker. I know poker, the hands are just over, so it's just more mining information about what some of the behavior is for the players, and not literally giving up like some card that they've been holding for 10-15 minutes now. But still, just generally speaking, as a question, is it really cheating at this point?
Basically, any use of I come from a card game background, and there was the common rule at all times: any outside assistance is strictly prohibited. So you were not allowed to obviously let your friends coach you through plays and whatever.
Yeah.
Hearthstone's universe.
I mean, there's no question about that, but ghosts,
or like
literally
getting information about your opponent's hand by like signaling or whatever, and also you were not even allowed to get notes into, like, you couldn't even bring any notes about your opponent or how to play against specific decks exactly. Like, you're supposed to like come into the game with a clean slate and just do everything. And in Hearthstone, like, there's a lot of stuff that you can do to abuse rules, or just to get advantages in other ways, like get that outside assistance. You can ghost, as we have said. You can use deck tracker instead of like using pen and paper or whatever.
Yeah.
You can just stuff that makes it easier, or just straight up is called
Maybe
cheat.
too easy. I
Would be
guess
considered as
like
cheating.
But what do you
you have
think
to
of
draw a
that?
line,
Like,
right?
yeah, I
Because
mean, it's
that's the thing is it's all about where you draw the line between what's accepted and what's not. Like the
Yeah.
devs have been saying pretty openly, anything you can do with pen and paper, you can do with our game. We don't really care.
Or
The
or
thing is
people
like,
who are,
go
yeah,
ahead.
or people are also, yeah, that's also been an issue that hasn't been really talked about too much in the scene. That a lot of people are accused of sharing their screen as well. Like that's
That
just
happens
basically
way
playing.
too much, dude. Like it
Yeah, like
used to
just
at
yeah.
basically
least, maybe less
playing
now,
playing
but
playing games with your friends. Yeah, because two heads are better than one, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
And
three to
obviously you
four heads sometimes can be better than one.
and
A whole
obviously you
Skype
want to
combo.
only see one face on the cam, right? So
Yeah.
that doesn't really help. Like that's not even that doesn't protect you from that problem. So it's just the issue with online tournaments, right? Like if the tournaments are offline, you can handle that. That's why also the prelims were in those fireside gathering areas, right? In those taverns, and so because Blizzard knew that that is an issue that they have to address, and this is sure this was not just a flavor. Not just a decision to emphasize the flavor of the taverns, but also just to prevent cheating from happening, right? And
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not. The question really wasn't more towards just general cheating in Hearthstone, but particularly this case, which is
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
watching
think it's
streams.
fine.
you
Like
know,
I
general-
genuinely think it's okay because it's like it's funny because when Hosty cheated, I made the probably like the most controversial video I made at that point, which was cheating. Why is it a big deal? And like that was the stupidest fucking title I could have picked. And thinking back on it,
Oh my
because my
gosh.
point was
Yeah.
really not like the cheating is fine and everybody should like cheating. Let's all cheat each other out of fucking integrity. The point was like you don't prevent, and I keep bringing that point up whenever people bring up stuff like this, is like you don't prevent murder by writing a law that says you shouldn't murder people. You make it so people don't want to murder each other. Likewise, in a point like this, and this is a very extreme analogy, is if you want people not to stream snipe or ghost, you just put a longer delay. Like you find a technical fix, like bringing people over to, let's say, a tavern. That's the way you're gonna fix the problem. Like you're not gonna do it by telling them not to. It's just you can't enforce that rule.
yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
can
and
enforce
it was-
this rule. I mean, you can. You just put it. You just put it in the rule.
Basically anyone
but
can
it's just like-
basically anyone can do it, and you cannot
Yeah.
you cannot
Yeah.
prove if someone did it or not, really. And
It's too much
like
effort.
Yeah.
reflections in the sunglasses are also, or in the picture are
They're
also
probably
just
not even
circumstantial
admissible, dude.
evidence.
Like yeah.
There's like also no enhance option or whatever in CSI Miami style. That's just not a thing. So
Wolfson
Oh no!
playing.
Oh
Wolfson.
no!
Wow.
Alki's glasses are gonna get enhanced CSI style.
Oh, CSI style.
Here we
Oh,
go,
I
dude.
see. I see.
There we
oh
go.
my god.
no, I mean, it's just you can't punish anyone for that, because basically anyone can do it, and you cannot never have any hard evidence that someone did it, unless there's like
Yeah.
physical proof that he's been doing it, like being caught in the act and
Yeah.
whatever, like photos being
Yeah.
released or.
Well, it's hard to prove. Like, there's probably been instances. I'm just guessing that there's been instances where people have done it and they just didn't happen to have mirrors or glasses or
It happens,
anything
I'm
like
sure,
that.
more than people realize. And
yeah.
the thing is, I don't like cheating. I think people like. I wish we didn't even have to worry about the thing. Like, I wish people actually didn't care about it. The thing is, the stakes for a lot of these players are so big. Even if it's just the name you're making for yourself in a sphere where you have to succeed, and success is the measure of your. Well, I mean, winning is the measure of your success. In that sphere, it's like you have to be wary of people trying to cheat, and so you have to find technical ways to avoid
Yeah.
it. And I think that's really just the crux of the matter. Is just put a longer delay. 10 minutes is not sufficient. I feel these days you end up
Something-
seeing a lot of the whole cards.
Something I figured out in all my experience of in all the years of card games that I played is that a lot of people will do anything they can to get an edge,
Within the
be it
rules.
be it in bending the rules or just straight up breaking them. And yeah, both things I don't like personally. Like I don't even like bending the rules, to be fair.
Rule bender.
But yeah, it's just
New card.
It's just a scummy thing to do, but you see it you still see it very often. Be it in Hearthstone, be it in other card games. People will try anything to win, because winning is what defines a player's success, right? In tournaments and
Sure.
yeah, many of the known players are only known because they won a tournament or two, and it's just the way you have to make a name for yourself nowadays, and especially in the open qualifier scene, a lot of people, you will see a lot of that, like people trying to bend the rules or break the rules or just screw people over because of small technicalities. You will see that a lot in open tournaments where there's a lot of unknown players just trying to make a name for themselves because they need that breakthrough performance in order to get recognized, in order to get that name on the map, and get on a big team because of it or whatever, and just make a career out of Hearthstone.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
it's just a backstabbing environment, and I just don't like it. It's just,
backstabbing,
of course,
or what? I guess.
yeah. It's just a lot of people do it on purpose.
It's cutthroat. It's cutthroat.
It's cutthroat.
it's
Yeah,
just
I think a
cut-
cutthroat
yeah.
would be
The
better.
backstabbing, cutthroat, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. No,
It's just,
I
don't
totally.
like it. And of course, and players like Elky don't have to resort to that kind of thing, which is why you would. I don't think Elky does it because he has accomplished so much in his life with poker, and
He's
That's
fine.
pretty much it.
He's fine without
why would you
Hearthstone.
need to cheat in the Hearthstone tournament, right? Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't do that kind of stuff in invitationals. Like you have in invitationals, for example, you have all those well-known Hearthstone personalities that have made the name for themselves. They don't need to prove anything to the community anymore by getting yet another win on their resume. So they don't have to like cheat or whatever to get that win. So you can expect them to not do it, right? But there's still a lot of people doing it. Not necessarily in the known professional scene, but definitely
The smaller one, I guess. The up-and-comers, I guess.
The up-and-comers.
Anyway.
They have more to gain from it. So it's really a message out to all the event organizers, and I mean, it's hard to prevent every form of potential cheating because it's online, and Hearthstone doesn't require any kind of just physical mechanics. So, because of that, right? There's more ways to abuse it, but still, the event organizers, I feel like, still need to do like more thinking about possible ways, of doing this, or having their events just be as bulletproof as possible. And we still have issues. Like, we still have issues with organizers. And it's been how many years now since Hearthstone, and something like this, I think just the standard rules should have something about ghosting in it.
Yeah, there just has to
or
be
the
a
delay.
problem.
The delay should be There's no difference between 10 and 20 minutes, in my opinion.
No, but
20
that's the
minutes,
problem you've got is, like, as an organizer, when you say make a stream that's on a 30 minutes delay, if your stream is completely jacked up and something's wrong, it's 30 minutes to reset. And that has been like a kind of a point of discussion because 30 minutes later you realize your audio is completely fucked, and then that's the point where you say, oh, let's shut it down. Oh wait, we have to wait 30 more minutes before we come back online. And that's where you start running into organization issues that mean your tournament gets zero traction. So the organizers are worried about that, and I understand why that's the case, but it sucks for us.
You can check your audios before you go live,
That's the theory. You absolutely know how that... No. You know how that works.
I do, but I mean, some of the times that it's been the issue for me has been, I mean, there are some times where it's just like your broadcasting machine just kind of freaks out or whatever, but I mean, most of the time it is more of a human error than it is like a technical error, right? So I mean, you can check that. You can have your stream running 30 minutes before the thing, right? Like you don't have to wait to start. You don't have to start the event immediately. I know what you're getting at. I just feel like people can still be preventative, and that's not a great excuse, I guess.
A good way to prevent that thing, right? Like one of the things that I've been saying over and over as well, when it comes to at least those invitational tournaments, right? Because for big open tournaments, it's not possible. But for those kind of invitationals where this incident happened, you could just let the players pre-record their games and
but there's this whole
have them
pre-record.
What?
There's this whole pre-record.
There's absolutely no issue with pre-recorded.
Well, it's more work. It's definitely more work, like on the organizer standpoint, right? Because they have to.
Yeah, but you prevent if that's what you want to prevent, the whole ghosting and cheating and whatever, then and also you can play around technical difficulties with that, like because all you have to do is play back those files and that's it.
Yeah.
And
ChanManV does it basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so there's absolutely no issue with that, and I think it's a perfect way to do it in order to prevents cheating, and also prevents a lot of technical difficulties, like players not showing up on time and whatnot. And yeah, it's just way better to just do pre-recording instead of doing it all live.
I don't disagree with, like, from the standpoint of production and event organizers, it's a much more controlled environment for sure.
Yep.
But I think at the same time, the community outside of like Challenge Zone, I'd say like there is a sense of excitement about live, events versus, if people found out that it was pre-recorded.
Well, Challenge Stone got a lot of. I guess it's like the exception, as you said, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's more of the exception. I mean, it's probably one of the few ones that are still doing it. I remember way back when. I did it for a deck where it's like a way back when. It wasn't. I mean, people were fine with it too back then. So yeah,
they don't mind it as long as it's like it's recorded in a live format. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long
there's
as
no
it
spoilers.
doesn't look
too.
like
There's no spoilers
right,
too,
exactly, because nobody talks about it. There's like a massive NDA.
NDA. Wow.
We're gonna drop legal action on you if you don't.
Yeah, don't stream while you're
this.
playing. Don't stream on your personal stream while you're playing on the event.
Yeah, but this show is pre-recorded, so we know what we're talking about.
Oh god.
Quick, someone put the screw on his head.
Exactly, right?
Oh crap, where is it? Forgot the shoe, Chan, man. We're doomed.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think why don't we take a quick break? It's been an hour. We'll take a quick break. Then we're gonna go into just some talking about harassment, just in Hearthstone, and generally, I think probably in gaming. And then we'll take some questions from you guys. You can tweet your questions to ValueTownGG, and we'll try to get to them. But before we go, I just want to remind you guys we have a Patreon for ValueTown. If you guys want to support, partake in some of the milestones and rewards that we have, you can go to ValueTown.gg. And in this break screen, you'll see a bunch of top patrons that we have, and huge thanks to those guys. But stick around. This is ValueTown, guys. This is Ekop, Noxious, and ChanManV. We'll be right back.